you're right. Like, there is that old movie within the movie.
I'm a big musical theater fan, obviously, and I love the way that the two creatures found their humanity kind of with, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers. There was that element. I wanted to know a little bit, how did you come up with that kind of connection?
Well, Frank is so alienated, so lonely, that his primary relationship is with a movie star. And of course, that movie star doesn't know who he is. And also, the movie takes place in the 1930s, and I was thinking about the movies from that time, which, yes, are delightful and joyful, those Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers movies, but they are totally based in fantasy. And my movie is kind of the opposite. It's like, well, what about the parts of my main characters that just don't fit in a box, that are so human that they can't, what's going to happen when it bounces off of that Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers fantasy stuff? That I thought was interesting.
No, absolutely. And it was wonderful to see how their choreography came about and like how much the dancing style spoke about them as well. But one of the things that I found very telling was the language between, when we look at Ida, the bride, and Mary, how the language differentiated these three characters. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about that, because ultimately the film really is about her finding her identity, right?
Yeah, and in a way, I mean, you could think of Mary Shelley, the bride, and Ida all as one, and that Mary Shelley is like the provocateur, the really brave, like nothing left to lose wild child who's kind of whispering in her ear, and who helps her ultimately figure out who she is and get her feet on the ground and ultimately name herself.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things I think a lot of people are going to ask is, I think this is the first time you direct Jake, right? As the musical theater, because I know he does a lot of musicals as well. How was working that and separating the sibling relationship to actor-director?
It's not separate, It's like, it's better, I think, in all kinds of art to let the reality be the reality. I love my brother. I think he's so talented. I love to see him get to express himself in so many ways inside this movie. You're right. Like, there is that old movie within the movie musical aspect that Jake holds, which is so interesting. I was just thinking, actually, like, next to the dancing that Frank and the bride do, which is much more like Thriller, it's like, it's in a different genre, than the stuff that Jake's doing. But Jake is so generous and really brilliant, I think, in the movie.
No, absolutely. I think each choreography speaks on itself in the language of the film. Well, I could talk for hours, but I know we have to wrap. What a pleasure. Thank you again for doing this film. It was such a joy to watch it. And congratulations. Thank you.
The bride of Frankenstein.
No, just the bride.